Autoweb. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Autoweb.
Welcome to Digital Dealer Tampa and the road to buying 100 cars per month. So my name is Sean V. Bradley. I am the president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group with approximately 20,000 elite members, dealerships all over the United States. And it is my distinct honor and privilege to be able to present my co-host, Mr. Danny Zaslavsky, who is the GM and managing partner for the Country Hill Automotive Group in Kansas City. And he's the managing partner in VinCue, the country's top technology company. So Danny, welcome to Digital Dealer Tampa.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Well, I want to kick us off because we came here to talk about how to solve some acquisition problems. So one of the things we think about, especially this last year, is where have all the cars gone? We've certainly sold a bunch, but getting those vehicles back on our lots has proved to be a tall task. So we've certainly gone to the auctions, and I want to go back in time for a minute and talk about how before COVID, in us going to the auctions and buying cars, it was still a tricky time, right? Because we were competing with other dealers in the lane that were increasing the amount of money that we were paying for cars. Plus, on top of that, we were doing post-sale inspections that carry a fee, often transportation that carries a fee. And there's a pressure of buying vehicles, right? And so no matter how much work you're doing on the back end, often you found yourself getting in lane and making an emotional purchase because you needed to buy a vehicle. But all of that costs money. We at Country Hill Motors did some really out-of-the-box thinking and said, how can we get others to be able to help others in acquisition? So one of the things that we did is we created partnerships like Harley-Davidson stores and RV and Camping World stores where we can go in and buy those vehicles because people trade cars all the time. So that was some creative out-of-the-box thinking, but still, there's diminishing return there and there's scalability issues there, and you can use dealer-to-dealer networks, but again, you're still working with other pros in the industry and paying a middleman, paying more for the vehicle. Trades is one of the best ways to put inventory on your lot, but it is absolutely dependent on inventory availability. Like, what are you selling to get cars, right? During COVID, as we started running out of inventory, what happens? We get less trade. So there's nothing on the screen that I'm telling you that you don't already know. Well, I started looking around, and we have a CarMax right across the street from us, and they've been buying vehicles from the public for a really long time. And they've been doing a really good job of marketing and telling the public that they want to buy your car. Well, recently, dealers have started taking Carvana and Vroom and other .coms seriously. And we see the strategy that they're deploying to go after consumers selling cars in the market. So we started studying that to better understand what's the method, what's the strategy, what's the journey, what's the way that we can, as dealers, play what I call the ground game and continue to be in our neighborhoods, to continue to be in our cities and serve our customers. So this is the journey that I've been on. In 2016, my dad had a stroke, and he was the guy that was in charge of acquiring inventory. He went to the auctions. He managed some of these partnerships that we had with Harley-Davidson stores, but also dealerships, because we would serve them by coming in and buying everything, the good, bad, and the ugly. We'd pay MMR for the vehicle because we wanted them to make money too, but it allowed us to buy in bulk and move money around, and it was working at the time. Well, when my dad had a stroke, I knew something about myself. I don't like going to the auction, and I felt kind of stupid going to the auction because I didn't want to be the last guy with my hand up. I didn't like how I'm a pretty analytical guy, so I felt like some of that was taken away from me, and there was a lot of emotional decisions being made. So we created what we call a vehicle a vehicle buying center in our dealership. Now, I started with one person and a handshake, and then I said, hey, we're going to figure out how to buy cars from the public. But one thing I knew right up front was that we had to make a commitment to that strategy, and that person needed to go to bed and wake up every morning with one goal, and it was to buy cars from the public. I didn't know the road that was ahead of me, but I knew that I had this goal. So we hired that dedicated person. Once we kind of figured out the cadence of once a customer comes in, how do we get them an offer, who's doing the paperwork, who's doing the final bid, which are things that we're going to talk about later in this presentation. Then we go, okay, cool, we got something here. We can start scaling. And so we got to about 30 acquisitions a month and plateaued. And we thought, okay, cool. There's something here where we can hire an additional person and maybe have some economies of scale. So in 2018, we hired additional reps, and that got us up to 50 car sites, 50 purchases per month. Now, when we started thinking about outbound, because again, this is inbound, right? Inbound would be like KBB or our own website of driving customers to us to buy their cars. Those are inbound. Outbound is when we started looking like old school on Craigslist, Facebook, AutoTrader, Cars.com, and see private party listings on there. Then we started reaching out and bringing people in. Well, again, I'm pretty. I love ingenuity, and I like getting down in the weeds. We said, you know what? There's something here, and we should build not just the physical vehicle buying center, but we should build the digital vehicle buying center. And so I'm going to show you first what the results of that is. So currently at Country Home Motors, we have 4 full-time buying agents, and we're buying anywhere between 80 and 120 vehicles per month from the public. Now, those vehicles turn incredibly fast. Our average turn on those vehicles is about 22 days. Currently, we're turning our entire inventory 17 and a half times a year. So our dependency on the auction has gone way down, and our front gross is up $1,200 per copy as compared to auction purchases. And that still doesn't take into account post-sale inspection fees, transportation fees, or any other fees to buy the car, not to mention what Sean calls stupid tax of just getting bid up. So the return on investment is immediate. And today I'm excited to share with you so that hopefully you can implement at your dealership a strong way to affect that profit loss and to raise the tide for everybody in your organization. So in order to create an effective vehicle buying center, there's a few things that you should look at. Number one is lead generation. Lead generation, I talked about earlier, you do from an inbound process and from an outbound process. Then you want to make sure to have the right technology. Now you can, what I call duct tape this together with some sort of trade tool to give an offer and some sort of landing page in order to get them to that page. And then when they come in, you can appraise it in whatever appraisal system you're using. And then when you stock it, you can stock it in whatever stocking system you're using and so forth, right? And then that's not even to mention the tracking pieces of it so that you understand, like, is what I'm doing efficient? That's what we did for a very long time. But we're going to get into the technology piece a little bit more here in a few minutes. Then it's the people. The people, it makes a really big difference. And I'm going to spend some time talking about the people. And really, this is Sean's part where he's helped us tremendously in identifying the right personalities that you want to hire. Because in the vehicle buying center, it's not your traditional salespeople, right? Salespeople think instant gratification. And so in the vehicle buying center, you have a little bit different flavor to people that work in there so that you can have the best results. Then the last thing we're going to talk about is the process. What's the process? Who bids the car? How do they come in inbound? How do we reach out outbound? What are the conversations that we're having? How are we tracking? How do we know the ROI? What are the pay plans that drive the vehicle buying center agents or the vehicle buying manager to make good decisions, not on just, hey, I want to buy this car, but also what car should I be going after, right? Because we want high churn and we want good gross. And I want to preface too, when I say good gross, it's not because you're selling the car for for more than it's worth. It's because you're buying it right. Okay. So let's talk about lead generation. If you take anything away from this presentation, I would love for you to think about this slide. So in the middle of the slide, what you're going to see is a goal. In that red box, it says buying cars from the public. That's the goal. Pretty simple, right? So then in order to break out how we're going to achieve that goal, let's go up and see content. Content is the number one way you can give your customers a clearly defined journey and call to action. And if you look to the left of content, it says anchor ad. So what an anchor ad is a message to a customer that says, hey, my name's Danny. I'm with Country Hill Motors, and we would love to buy your car. We make it easy. Just go to selltocountryhill.com. There we'll give you an offer in just a few seconds. We'll then give you a call and talk about your offer so that you understand where we're getting those numbers. And then we'll take off any pressure. We take care of the title, we take care of the payoff, we take care of the paperwork. And all you have to do is go to selltocountryhill.com, put in your year, make, model, or your VIN number if you want, and we'll do the rest. Boom. That is a complete anchor ad. From there, you can start parsing out that ad to simpler or shorter versions of it that can be played on social media, that if you're still doing long format on television or radio, all of that content can go there. Then once you do that, you start thinking about channels. Because before we get into channels, actually, I want to bring something up. A lot of people think, gosh, I got to do all of this in order to buy cars. You don't, actually. Because if you think about it, if somebody walked into your store today and they said, hey, I want to sell you my car, you would figure out how to buy the car, right? If you wanted the car, you'd figure out how to buy the car. So what this is today is to get us thinking about how to scale that process. Last year here at Digital Dealer, we talked about the concept. Today, we're really talking about scaling the idea. So when we get into channels, now that anchor ad and those social media clips can be used differently on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, again, on traditional channels if you're still using them, television, radio, and Google display ads. And then when you match that with behavior targeting, and this is a really big deal, behavior targeting of those messages, all of a sudden your return on investment goes through the roof. So behavior targeting, we use AdQ, and AdQ tells us when I put an ad out there, I want to make sure it's served to people that show behavior that they are selling their car, because they may be going to websites like CarMax or Carvana or Vroom or NADA or KBB, anywhere to get a value on their car or to try to sell their car. So we can create like audiences. You can create behavioral campaigns. There's all sorts of ways to make sure that you're reaching the right people. And the messaging is really important. That's what we come to next. In a future slide, we're going to talk about the messaging, but I want to tease it here for a second. So when you think about messaging, the consumer, when you're selling cars, knows the dealer's goal, right? You want to sell a car. That's the goal. There's really nothing else to it. Well, buying cars is really the same. When you're telling people you want to buy their car, the consumer knows that goal. They want to buy your car. But if you consider what's their motivator, all right, we're going to get this in the next slide here, but maybe it's getting rid of a payment. Maybe it's getting cash. Maybe it's because of a life change. And I'm going to show you some examples of some ads where we talk to customers. And then the last piece is the funnel. The funnel is where are you managing that? Now with VinCue's Vehicle Buying Center, all of that is managed in one place. The inbound, the outbound, the connections, the transactions, all of it's managed. And then talking about ingesting, right? Kelley Blue Book or any other inbound leads or opportunities that you're creating, all the way down to referral opportunities for customers. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Here are some examples of ads that we've created, and these are super fun, but you can certainly have this slide deck after the presentation, but you can also go to YouTube and just type in sell to Country Hill Motors, And you'll see a whole playlist of these that we're adding every single week with client testimonials and anchor ads and social media ads. So I'm going to go ahead and play one for you.
Selling your car can be a long, drawn-out event. Well, at Country Hill Motors, we've changed all that with our Vehicle Buying Center. Sell your current vehicle to Country Hill Motors at our Merriam location, and all those headaches go away. We give you top dollar and pay you more than other dealers with our instant cash in your pocket. Go to selltocountryhill.com or drive into our Merriam location and let our appraisers give you instant cash in your pocket. Our buyers pay more, and you get more.
Get a great deal at countryhill.com.
So what did you see there in the end? Obviously, it was an anchor ad, right? But you also saw we'll pay up to $250 because we say we'll pay up to $250 more than CarMax. I have a CarMax right across the street from me, but you can ideally make sure that you are giving the consumer what they need. And we're going to talk about how you bid cars a little later in this presentation. Now, let me show you something cute we created. We have a whole series of these that you can find on YouTube. Ooh, go back to that.
Hey, you got a couple extra cars in the driveway and you want the best deal. You might go online and try to sell. Some of these guys are going to make you feel like you've been hit below the belt. You know what I mean? You want to sell? Sell at countryhill.com. You'll get the best deal. You know what I mean? I even told Wally about it. He's kind of relaxed brain. You know what I mean? Absolutely. countryhill.com.
So that's our Rocky impersonator. He was actually on one of the Super Bowl ads this last year as the impersonator ad, which we thought was pretty cool. Then here's a test. Here's a short clip that we did on social media for fun.
Country Hill Motors wants to buy your car. Great deal at countryhill.com.
So you can tell we get a little edgy, but it's a fun, lighthearted ad. Now, these next two that I'm going to show you are what I think are the highest ROI. And so when we purchase a car, when a customer comes in, the first thing we do is we give them a clipboard. And that clipboard asks them questions about their vehicle, like how many keys do you have? Have you ever had an accident with the car? But we give them that clipboard, they fill this out while we're looking at the car. So then we don't have to sit there and ask them those questions. And plus, if we buy the car, that piece of paper goes into the deal packet. And so we can have that information even after they're gone. Well, in the exit interview, two things we do that we have a lot of fun with is we ask them if they'd be willing to do a video testimonial. So let me show you one of those now.
I was just looking, I got two vehicles, I didn't really need this, so I came here looking to sell it, and the team was really great. They worked with me on what my needs were. You could definitely tell that they were concerned about me getting what I needed as well as getting what they needed. So I felt really good.
So again, you can see these on Sell to Country Hill Motors on YouTube, or you can just go to our Sell To page, selltocountryhill.com. Here's one more.
Well, it was fantastic working with the team, first of all. But the vehicle I sold to you, coincidentally, we heard that old adage, what goes around comes around. I bought it from Country Hill Motors in 1999. It's a 1979 Alfa Romeo Spider Velocity, and it was running pretty good, but it died on the way here. To sell it is the first time in 22 years it is stranded me anywhere. So I had it towed over to the service people. The service people were great over there. The buyers over here were great. Of course, the original purchase price that they had quoted me 3 weeks ago, that didn't hold water because it had died on me. So, but anyway, things were great. It's great working with these guys.
So we thought that one was fun. The guy bought the vehicle from us 22 years ago, an old Alfa Romeo, and ended up selling it back to us. So then when you start thinking about, like, how do I reach customers, we'll be talking about a multi-channel approach. But one of the things I want to mention here is on the exit interview, something we just started doing is giving them also a little piece of paper while we're doing the paperwork to buy the car, getting the check ready and so forth. We have something that asks them, hey, can you tell us a few things about this vehicle that you're proud about, so that we can share with the next owner. So we give them a few lines to give us a message like, this was a great vehicle, it protected my family, we took some road trips with it, and we had to do very little maintenance to the vehicle, excited for its next future home. Then that piece of paper goes to the digital marketing person at our dealership, and then those notes are uploaded into the vehicle comments on the VDP once we list the vehicle. And I mean, imagine as a customer, right? You get to see a note from the previous owner. We think that's pretty cool. So I want to talk about multi-channel marketing for a second, because I think this is really important when you're thinking about building a vehicle buying center. For the longest time, we had very few ways to connect with people. We could, pick up the phone or send an email. And obviously text messaging has become a really big deal, but then also social media texting has become a really big deal. Video conversations has become a really big deal. FaceTiming with the customer. And so one of the things that I like to say is different is better than better. So don't just try to be better, try to be different. If you're talking to a customer and you ask them, hey, can I FaceTime you and have this conversation with you? I bet you that will be memorable for them. But then also when you are doing an inbound campaign and asking for the consumers to sell you their cars, think about print and mail, because that is really coming back with all the digital that's been going on over this last year with COVID. It's pretty refreshing to get something in the mail nowadays. But in-person events, buying events is something that you can host at your car dealership. Have a lot of fun with that. People bring their cars, and make sure you communicate like what cars you're trying to buy. If you have a diverse inventory and you're buying Hondas to Mercedes to Bentleys, cool. But if you have a niche audience, then you can reach that niche audience as well. So this is where we begin with some of the things that we use at Country Hill Motors along with VinCue in driving the consumers to our website. So we have a dedicated landing page, or I call it a digital front door. And that digital front door is a place for them to go. So ours is sell2countryhill.com. If you have a car dealership, you can imagine sell to ABC Motors as your web address. So you drive them to that site, and there, all they got to do is either put in a VIN number or your make model. That's it. The system will often autofill their information, and then they're going to get a message, or excuse me, they're going to get a valuation right on the screen. Let me actually go back for a second. I want to talk about that a little bit more. The valuation that they get is actually pretty important, because often there are vendors out there that just produce a number, right? Your car's worth 20 grand. And that number often creates like a visceral response where you say, okay, cool, that's either good, or no, that's way too low. And then we're having to call the customer and to peel them off the ceiling or have this conversation. And so what we've decided that the system should do is give them a range. And that range can be either aggressive or conservative. We have control of how aggressive or conservative we want it to be based on either wholesale or retail numbers. So for instance, if the market's higher right now on Toyota 4Runners, late model Toyota 4Runners, and that's what we need, we can be 3% above wholesale on those offers to be extra aggressive on those. And so that's one of the ways that we manage that. And then we continue that conversation via text. So here's where I want to tag in my friend Sean a little bit to talk about the people. Sean has helped us identify what kind of people need to live in our vehicle buying center, because we learned that salespeople really aren't the right fit. But with that, I want to introduce my friend Sean to speak to this.
Hey, thank you so much, Danny, and you're absolutely crushing it. It is utterly fascinating how a dealer is able to regain control of their inventory, especially with the volatile climate right now with inventory shortage. By you being proactive, not only are you surviving these pandemic times, but you are actually thriving. So I want to just kind of give you kudos there. And so as far as the people goes, in my opinion, people are the most important asset in any organization, but especially a car dealership. So we're going to go a little bit deeper in session 2 about this, but I do want to say that it's very important that you, as the dealer, the GM, the executive manager, understand that this position is a truly unique position. This is not the same thing as trying to sell a car to a prospect. You're trying to buy their car. So when you think of this person that's going to be your VBC or vehicle acquisition specialist, you need to think about their temperament, their attitude, their work ethic, all these things. And some of the things that Danny has here, which I love, is what makes a great salesperson does not necessarily make a great VBC agent. You need to remember that. And again, look for the heart of an educator. Danny, can you explain that? Because this is coming directly from you, but I concur 100%.
After these messages, we'll be right back. At the very first Dealer eProcess keynote, Gino Ciparroni and Sam Vukas introduced new tools and strategies to drive conversion, new designs to increase customer engagement, and new technologies to dominate the competition. Visit dealereprocess.com/keynote to watch and see what's new in 2021.
Yeah, so an educator is a great communicator, right? And that's, in order to scale, you need to be a really great communicator. Sean, that's what your business is based off of, right? Training other people so that you can scale. And an educator also has a different bedside manner than a salesperson may at moments. And so that's why we have found somebody who is an educator, great at customer service, that can use data to their benefit, because that's what they're using. They're looking at retail transaction history. They're looking at wholesale transaction history. They're looking at live vehicles on the web in order to identify what the offer should be. Those are data points that an educator would be great at, not only ingesting but also repeating to the customer.
Absolutely. I think that's strong. And Danny, again, you speak about this part so well, the utilizing empathy to help sellers solve problems. So one thing that's really important is with the agent that's going to be in this department or this initiative, they need to remember it's not us trying to just buy cars from the public because there's a pandemic or there's an inventory crisis, because that's really about us. I love how you articulate, what's important is for this agent to figure out problems that we are going to be able to solve for the public. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually that brings me to my next slide. That's a perfect segue. So let's talk about motivators. So I touched on this earlier, but consumers know that you either want to sell a car or buy a car, right? That's pretty straightforward. But if you think about, if you were a consumer, right, why do you want to sell a car? That currency isn't always money. There's other currencies. Sometimes you want to get rid of it because you're tired of looking at it. Like, it's been sitting in the garage, your wife, husband, partner has told you, you know what, you need to do something with that car. Like, we don't need it anymore. And the currency for that customer is to appease their spouse or to solve a problem. It's not necessarily the money. And there are I can tell you from experience, a lot of consumers with that issue. Another one is they want to get rid of a car payment. And it's not just a car payment, it's also an insurance payment. And it's also a property tax payment on that vehicle. And if you can help them solve that, that's a big deal. Now, there's other issues within that conversation, because consumers are either scared or don't understand how to do title work, how to do the payoff, how to do any of the paperwork, the bill of sale, vehicle ownership transfer agreement, any of the things that they need to do in order to sell a car. Well, a dealer solves that problem for them. And remember, this is something we haven't touched on yet, but when a consumer sells a car to a dealer, their only concern is that the dealer's not going to give them enough. That's it. There's no other concerns. The only thing they're thinking is, why would I sell to a dealer? Because they're going to give me wholesale. Like, I'm going to get less from a dealer than I am from a consumer. Not anymore. With the way COVID has been, dealers are paying upwards of private party in order to get a vehicle. And so when you can come out of the gate telling them that you will pay extra for that vehicle because of the times, and you show them the data and it's backed up, then you can overcome that objection really quickly. So getting money now obviously is a big one, but trade. Now, I'll tell you, of the private party acquisitions that we do, roughly 15% of those end up trading the car. And that's business I would have never gotten to begin with because I wasn't knocking on their door, nor from an inbound perspective or from an outbound perspective. It's not the leading thing that we talk about with the consumer. It's hey, we want to buy your car, but we certainly do talk about it. And then the last one is a major life change. So the point is, if you can speak to their motivators and solve their problem, the side effect, which is your effect, is buying the car. So I just want to make sure that we can turn that on its head a little bit and remember we're a servant to our community. So the next thing we're going to talk about is process from an inbound private party perspective and an outbound private party perspective, and then also talk about how to schedule appointments. Now, from an inbound perspective, consumers are coming to that digital front door, right? And they're landing on sell to page, they're getting the offer. Then VinCue picks, it goes into a centralized hub, a acquisition CRM that allows you to communicate back and forth with the customer via text in a multi-channel way, text, email, send pictures back and forth. And it creates an offer that you can then either pencil with all the data to help eliminate counters from the customer because you're showing them. I'll give you an example. Consumers think all the time,
hey, Tim Cox from CarNow, and we would love the privilege and honor to be able to partner with you,
well, we have
our dealer partner, and show you why we continue to be the most awarded.
So now we can show you, yeah, sure, they're listed for 20 grand, but they're leaving for 19.
What's the buzz about? We'd love to show you why. Please click the link below.
And then on top of that, we still have to service the vehicle, recondition the vehicle, advertise the vehicle, pay a salesperson to sell the vehicle. So we have expenses. Plus, we like to make some money. We're not a non-for-profit. So that's why I can offer you $17,000 for the car, which, by the way, is $500 above private party. That is how you work to educate a customer on paper and in real life. Outbound private party acquisition are done really the same way with more love on the front end, where you're finding those objections to say, hey, I saw your car online and I'm interested in buying it. And I saw you're listing it for 20. I could probably get pretty close to that. Would you be willing to talk about it? And let them say yes or no. You don't need to come out of the gate saying, hey, I'm a dealer and I'd like to buy your car. You're a person connecting with a person. And let's not forget that. And then the goal is to set the appointment. Now, we have some dealers that go out and buy vehicles from people in their driveways. And we think that's, if you want to do that, that's wonderful. But a majority of our customers, we tell them, hey, our service department's here and our checkbook is here. And we need both in order to do business. Because we want to look at your car and we want to write a check. And so those customers are coming to us, we're setting appointments and giving them great service. And it's obvious because you can see the testimonials that we have online. So the technology is what I touched on earlier. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but the tech we use has been VinCue, and all of that is managed in our system. So it's a CRM for private party acquisition. So let's talk about for VBC onboarding. And again, this is starting to touch on some of the things that Sean's going to be talking about later, but I can't tell you how much Dealer Synergy helped us in figuring this out, because a lot of this is uncharted. I mean, it's uncharted for us, right? And we've been doing it now for 5 years, but it's uncharted for a lot of dealerships. And we want to be able to figure this information out together. And here's what I mean by that. Like, what are the BBC agent and manager job descriptions, right? What are the inbound and outbound KPIs? Because we know that inbound and outbound KPIs for a rep are very different. What's the CRM setup and DMS reporting, which I'm going to touch on later? What's the BBC agent messaging, coaching? All of that was written and helped put in place by Dealer Synergy, being in the trenches with us to figure out, do we need to give these big messages, or couldn't we just ask, hey, is this available? By the way, my name's Danny. I thought your car was cool. Because selling cars is slightly different than buying cars. And then what's the documentation, right, that needs to happen? And obviously, what's the advertising? So Sean, can you speak to this some?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely imperative that I stress some data really quick right here. Dealerships as a whole have a 70 to 80% attrition ratio. And I'm going to talk about this more in session 2, but I think it's important to preface this section right here. So you got to ask why. Why is there such a high attrition ratio, which means that X amount of employees, let's just say the average dealership has 10 salespeople. That means statistically within 1 year, 7 to 8 of those salespeople will not be there in 1 year or less. Okay, to me, this right here that we're talking about, onboarding, is one of the most critical, reasons. A friend of mine has this little joke that says, did we hire them dead or kill them after we got them? I'm going to repeat that. Did we hire them dead or kill them after we got them? What that means is, did we hire the wrong person? Or did we have the right person, but we didn't have the right onboarding strategy on how to get them acclimated? So let's talk about this for a second here. Somebody that's going to be in this position, first and foremost, we have to remember this is a much, much newer position than even a BDC rep or a sales consultant or a receptionist. Like, this is new, uncharted territory, like Danny was just saying. So when you have something so new, you have to process map everything. You have to have a strategy for not only recruiting, which we'll get to later on, but once you have this person and you hire them, what does the first 2 or 3 weeks look like? What is that standard operating procedure on how to get them acclimated to the automotive industry, how to get them acclimated to your dealership, how to get them, acclimated to your manufacturer if you are a franchise dealership. Again, these are important variables that you need to figure out, not after you hired the person, but before you even hire them. Because I truly believe that if you really think about these details that Danny and I are talking about now beforehand, you will be able to decrease your attrition, increase, employee retention dramatically. So Danny, again, I commend you for you being a dealer, and this is being on the forefront, and I appreciate the kudos, but I couldn't have created at Dealer Synergy all these individual processes without working hand in hand with you as the dealer. So I recommend that if you have a consulting company, whether it's Dealer Synergy or someone else, it is really important for the executive manager or the dealer principal to be part of the process, because you don't want to have a mercenary come in and then just basically create all these processes that are not natural to you, your philosophy, your mission, vision, values, and your organization. Because if you do that, guess what? Then you're not going to follow through, or you're not going to have longevity in the initiative. But what I find is that when there's collaboration with the dealership or the dealer principal or the executive manager and an outside agency like Dealer Synergy or another HR company, and they cooperatively, synergistically create this, that's where longevity happens. That's where utilization occurs. So Danny, would you agree with that from the dealer's perspective about the collaboration and the synergy?
Absolutely. And you know what the result is? $170,000 a month net lift, which is a little over $2 million net lift a year. Net lift, right? Because we're increasing gross on top of what we're already doing by avoiding stupid tax, by avoiding auction fees and post-sale inspection fees. Because I believe auctions only exist to create assurance between a buyer and a seller. That's it. So why not go right back to our backyards and in our communities, what dealers are so good at, and continue to serve our consumers and create future business? Because we say at our dealership, the better it gets, the better it gets. Because those customers come back to acquire vehicles, they come back for servicing vehicles, and it only helps our business. Wholesale transaction does not.
I want to add one piece to that, Danny. And I want your dealer's perspective on this. What I find right here is where stuff falls apart. It's ready, fire, and then aim, because dealers are not curriculum development specialists. They're not HR specialists. They're not even job description and job, outline specialists. So what they do is they try to jury rig this or just like kind of wing it, or they'll ask the CRM company or some other company that doesn't specialize in this stuff either. So it's almost like the blind leading the blind. So it's not that they don't want this to work, but here's the big learning tip for this slide right here is you got to ask yourself, are you an expert in identifying vehicle buying center job descriptions and job outlines? If the answer is no, then find someone that is. Are you an expert in identifying the vehicle buying center KPIs and pay plans? If not, find someone that is. Are you an expert in CRM setup and DMS reporting, for the vehicle buying center setup? If no, then find somebody that is. If you are not, an expert in VBC, agent messaging, coaching, and training and those things, find somebody that is. If you are not a VBC process documentation, forms, consents, details specialist, find somebody that is. If you are not an expert in VBC advertising, marketing, and branding, then find somebody is. What I don't want you to do, and Danny can, concur or disagree with me at this point, is just if you have this like, man, this is a great idea, I want to try this, then do it the right way. Don't half butt it and wing it. Would you agree with that, Danny?
Totally. So that brings me to a little bit of detail that I want to talk about, where you can start to see how these communications happen. So when a customer, Sean, I'm going to use you as an example. If you were selling a vehicle, right? Apply this to yourself. If you were selling a vehicle, I could just flat out say, hey, Sean, I think it's worth this much money, and you're going to have a response to that. But today's consumers really love data. I mean, we're in a data age, and keeping consumers, I'm going to be a little crass here, but keeping consumers stupid doesn't work, because then we end up looking stupid. So that's why we have this report that gives the consumer all the numbers: how much we'd buy it for, how much we'd sell it for, how many they're competing with in their own market, and what we buy it for, and what the sales tax credit is. Then we back it up with all the live market comparables, all the sold retail transactions, as well as all the auction transactions. And we can share that with the customer and say, look, this is the data. It's transparent. This is what it's going for. And so if you want to sell it on your own, I would encourage you to spend some money on it and make it really nice, and do some really good marketing. And you might even consider buying a warranty when you sell it. If not, those are the things that we do in order to be competitive. So here's a really cool slide that is one of my favorites that really does a good job of talking about the difference between inbound and outbound. So on the left, we're going to talk about inbound for a second. Inbound starts with that digital front door. The consumer goes to the digital front door. They put in their vehicle information, either high tech or low tech. You can go to sell.countryhill.com and see it. Then we give them an instant offer. Again, that comes with a we buy it, traded in number, or you sell it number. And that you sell it number is pretty important because it shows them what they could sell it for on their own. And again, this is market data. It's not book data. It's not lagging indicators. These are leading indicators. This is real information. And then you can see on the left, in the lower left, all those offers fall into our system, and we're able to communicate and pencil. We're able to appraise any one of these vehicles. I can look at the history, the book values. I can look at whatever I want. I can even look at the history on the vehicle. I'm not talking about vehicle history. I'm talking about where was the car before they bought it, and what was it listed for on the previous dealer's website. I have that information in our system, and I can't tell you how powerful that is in having a good transaction. Then on the outbound side, we are able to see Craigslist, Facebook, AutoTrader, CarGurus, all of these consumers in one place, and then we can filter them by what inventory should we be buying, by market demand, by scarcity, by price to market, cost to market. And then I can connect with these consumers in a multi-channel way via text message, via email, via video. And I can send them messages that are simple that says, hey, I'm interested in your car and here's for how much. Or I can send them that offer that you see, the instant offer that you see on the left, depending on what the customer wants. And again, I can manage all those because some customers are selling the same day, right? But some customers are selling the next day or the next week because they want to play with the vehicle online and see what offers they can get. And often the world kind of beats them up a little bit, and then they come back and they say, okay, you were right. But there is a road to the acquisition or a sales cycle to this whole process. And then my favorite screen is the bottom right, is the acquired screen. And that acquired screen can be looked at either as a department or by individual. And we're going to talk about what the metrics are per individual. Here's another example of what we call KPIs or key performance indicators, inbound and outbound. Now, from an inbound perspective, if you have vendors like KBB ICO, then those are coming in and you can see how many opportunities did you get, right? Because keep in mind, CRMs are not built for acquisition. You have to set them up for them to work as acquisition. But that's because we dealers are creative, not because they built it that way, right? So those opportunities are brought in. How many high value connections are made? Out of those, how many appointments are made? How many acquisitions are made? And then once that percent closed from ops to connections, connections to appointments, appointments to acquisitions, then you can bring in other vendors if you choose for inbound. Then from outbound, same thing. We want to know how effective is Craigslist or Facebook or CarGurus or AutoTrade or any others that have private party listings, and how are we getting those opportunities to connections, to appointments, to acquisitions? That is something that we work on quite a bit. Now, the last thing from a software side that I want to talk about is your DMS. So your DMS is your foundational system. In our world, we call it the master, because it's like, if you think about it like a cake, it's the bottom tier. It's where information flows up. Well, when a vehicle is purchased, something that we did that has served us greatly is put 4 numbers to be able to track. So the first thing, number 1, is if we bought the vehicle at the auction, we mark it as a 1. If we traded for the vehicle, we mark it as a 2. If it was a dealer network purchase, meaning we traded for it from another dealership or we use the software to buy from another dealer, then we mark it number 3. And if we bought it through a vehicle buying center, then it's a number 4. And something I didn't mention, I wish I didn't want to talk about, when we're talking about channels of buying vehicles, buying private party isn't just, inbound isn't just done through marketing, it's also done through your service lane by doing hang tags in your service lane with a QR code to drive people to sell their car to you, or off lease or equity mining. Those are all opportunities. But nonetheless, we track that. Now, the reason we track it is so that we can produce 2 reports. One is a sold by date range, so meaning how many vehicles did I sell last month? How many of those vehicles that I sold were purchased from auction, trade, dealer network, or BBC? What was the average gross per copy and what was the average turn? That gives us the information to know how much faster are we turning BBCs and auctions or trades or dealer networks? How can we make our processes better at the auction? How can we make our processes better at BBC? That's an important report for us. That's also what we pay off of. So pay plans are based on that, because we do a base plus a variable, dollar amount sold per car or percentage of gross based on what sold from the month, from that month that was purchased by the BBC. Then the other report you can create is what's called in stock by channel. Channel being, where did you buy the car? Auction, trade, dealer network, or BBC. And again, you can see of the cars I have in stock, how many were purchased at the auction, trade, dealer network, or BBC? What's my average cost? What's my average price per market? What's my average age? So you can start seeing, gosh, I'm really having aging specifically in my auction and a little bit of my dealer network, but not at all in my trades or BBCs. So I wanted to share that because I think it's pretty important. So the last slide for me to share, and Sean's really going to get into this, and I'm excited to talk more about it, is in order to get, the road to buying 100 cars a month, here's a little bit of a breakdown. So we have, from that report that I just showed you, we're able to increase a net lift of $1,200 average per copy. But then you start considering the auction fees that are between $400 and $500. And then on top of that, the post-sale inspection fees, $100.
After these messages, be right back. Attention auto dealers. You need an opportunity to do business. Autoweb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. I mean, high quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. Autoweb can fully customize your results through targeted markets, ends, or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need Autoweb.
They do end up saying, you know what, I do want another car. Something else I want to flip on its head when you're talking about marketing, you'd be surprised how many consumers will sell you their car and go buy somewhere else. So me, I'm an independent with no new car vehicles. Well, I will advertise to customers saying, if you want to buy a new car, no problem. We'd like to buy the car you're going to trade in and give you more money for it than you can get on trade, and then go buy your new car. And you'd be surprised how many consumers will give us the opportunity to buy their car. We call it free second opinions. So we try to have some fun with it. So that, I want to recap for a second. In part one, we talked about lead generation and marketing. We talked about finding the right people, establishing a clear process, and obviously using the right tools. Thank you so much. I want to open up to any Q&A. My information is there at the bottom. And again, I'm managing partner at VinCue and general manager and dealer principal at Country Hill Motors. And here's my information. So thank you very much.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Attention auto dealers. You need an opportunity to do business. AutoWeb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. I mean, high quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. AutoWeb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need AutoWeb.
Hi, my name's Danny. Welcome to Digital Dealer and the road to buying 100 cars per month from the public. So again, my name's Danny, and in session one, you heard me talk about our journey to buying 100 cars a month. But I am so excited to introduce Sean V. Bradley, president and founder of Dealer Synergy and the Millionaire Car Salesman, who helped Country Hill Motors with the processes and the CRM and the HR and the training necessary and the onboarding to bring on a team of rock stars in order for us to succeed at solving our inventory problems. So with that, my friend, Sean V. Bradley.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate the kudos, and it's been an honor to share in your success. I mean, you've been the keynote at Digital Dealer before, you've been on the cover of Dealer Magazine, and you've been all over the country because of your dealer group's profound success. And I honestly am honored to be able to just share a little bit in the excitement and what you guys are doing at Country Hill. So with that being said, as Danny just said, it was Dealer Synergy that helped take some of Danny's ideas and vision and actually execute them as it relates to the CRM, the HR, and the training. So let's just dive right into this. Okay, so on this slide, look at your new rep. Okay, so this person, whether you call them a vehicle acquisition specialist or vehicle buying center coordinator, there are some things that you need to take into consideration. First and foremost, this person is a unique, brand new entity at the dealership. I mean, for over 100 years that people have sold cars, it's been pretty consistent. Maybe 26 years ago, this new thing happened where it was internet sales and BDC, but only in the very, very recent future, in the last 5 or so years, have people been proactive to create a vehicle buying center. And one of the most important aspects of the VBC success is making sure that you have the proper organizational structure, the proper infrastructure for your team, your department, and all that it goes into. So let's just kind of go through here. So one of the first things I would say that you need to create is an employee value package proposition. That means, why should somebody work in your department? Everything from salary, benefits, commissions, details, etc. You need to be clear on what this VBC team is going to do. What's their differentiator? What's their different skill sets that are going to be needed? What different strategies are you going to have to custom create for the VBC? Because again, we're not trying to sell cars, we're trying to buy cars. Then once you get all of these ideas in place on the psychology, the strategy, the philosophy, then you need to go into production mode, meaning you need to create employee VPP videos. You need to create HR graphics, HR videos, which I'll show you examples as we get a little further on the presentation. And then you need to figure out where you're going to find these amazing unicorns. Where are you going to find these people that are going to be part of this brand new department that you have? Everything from career sites to your website to social media. And then what is going to be your process for generating resumes, collecting resumes, managing the resumes, reaching out to these potential HR candidates, screening, interviewing, recommending of hires, and things like that. This is what I want to talk about for a little bit right now, okay? So let's start with the VBC team. First and foremost, this is a different skill set. Being able to acquire a vehicle from somebody, to buy a vehicle from somebody is a different strategy. It's a different frequency. It's a different cadence. It's a different message across the board. So you need to have certain skills that are different than a traditional BDC rep or sales consultant. You also need to make sure that they're trained differently than your conventional team. One thing that Danny, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to tag you into this, is one thing that you're talking about is that these are not basic people. No disrespect, to frontline BDC reps, but a lot of times dealerships have got this thing twisted. They have the most basic people that are a BDC rep that could live off of $1,500 or $2,000 a month. And Danny, your vision that we've helped you personify is you have a higher caliber individual, people that actually, I dare say, are capable of doing a trade appraisal. So can you talk about, just for a quick second, the acquisition manager versus acquisition agents and being able to have the skill set to do an actual trade appraisal?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. You opened my eyes to this. So, one of the barriers to entry is being able to do an appraisal on a car, but agents don't necessarily have to do that right out of the gate, because the system will be able to do that. And the system also gives all of the retail transaction data, wholesale data, live data to be able to identify a vehicle. Well, one thing that I know is that I'm never able to actually scale if I keep my people around me. I'm going to be crass and I apologize, but if I keep my people stupid around me, that's not going to work, right? Rising tide. We get to learn and grow and run together. And quite frankly, I hope the people around me run faster than me. So in the BBC, we hire people with the heart of an educator that are fantastic communicators, that are curious about vehicles, because it's fun buying cars. It's fun talking to people. It's fun getting to get in the nitty gritty and figuring out, having some enthusiast conversations with people. But then also being able to interpret the data and then communicate that data. And all of that elevates the intellectual equity that we have in the department. Because eventually what I want them doing, which what we're doing now, is not just buying cars, right? Units isn't the game. The game is finding the right cars that we sell. It's finding the vehicles that will turn quickly. It's finding vehicles that will bring more money, that will have a higher book value if I'm looking for finance vehicles. Those are all initiatives that the car dealership has. Well, they will not be fulfilled if our team doesn't have access to information and isn't supported by leadership to grow and get smarter.
100%. When I was in the Army ROTC, one of the lessons I learned is that we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we have our frontline agents, these acquisition agents, these VBC reps, if you will, if you treat them like basic telemarketers or basic call center people, that's what you're going to get. And this is one of the main reasons why over 80% of BDCs, business development centers, and traditional internet departments and dealerships are broken and non-profitable. It's because they don't have the right candidates. What you want is a higher level person, a thinker, somebody that's not going to invoke the reaction of, you're useless. Can I speak to your manager? You want somebody that's not useless. You want to have somebody that's useful. And especially during this whole COVID situation, more and more people want and crave and actually do their research and buying online. So this is not, you don't necessarily want somebody that's just going to aggregate appointments and set appointments. You want people that could do real-time communications and provide value by by appraising the trade, by doing an equity assessment, by things like that. So again, I love that, Danny, that we're on the same page with this and that you adopted that philosophy, because a lot of dealerships don't. They want to keep people that are on the front lines basic, and we're so past basic. We need to provide supreme experience. It's not about outselling or outbuying the competition. We need to out-experience the competition. We need to give these prospects an incredible experience. And we'll find this out a little bit later on. Some of the videos, when you go to YouTube and look at Sell to Country Hill, I watched them, and what they kept on saying, all the people that sold you their cars, was how easy, how awesome, what a great experience that was. And that's because you don't have basic people that are representing your organization. You've got trained professionals. Now, so how do you find these unicorns again? I'm joking, they're not unicorns, but you need to begin with the end result in mind. You need to think about, why should somebody at this caliber work for your organization? I like to call this an employee value package proposition. Why work from us?
Don't be the last one with your hand up at the auction. VinCue Vehicle Buying Center gives dealers the digital and in-store tools you need to buy direct from the public. On average, inventory bought from the public grosses $1,200 higher on the front end alone. VinCue turns buying cars direct from the public into a business. The most profitable dealerships in the country are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in additional front-end gross. Private party acquisition starts with VinCue. See it at VinCue.com.
Stay home and do nothing and collect than it is to work at the dealership. So you've got to be creative with your incentivizing and justifying why people need to get off of the government subsidy and actually come onto your team. Addition to that is, again, if you want millennials, if you want the younger crowd, Generation Z, Generation Y to work with you, if you want females to work with you, we can't have these archaic, antiquated, schedules. So all of these variables, from pay plan, compensation, benefits, perks, schedule, all these need to be packaged correctly so you could find the right candidate. Let me give you an analogy. If you were going deep sea fishing, theoretically, and you want to go fish for tuna or for swordfish or some type of saltwater fish, but if you've got bait for trout or bass, how's that going to work? Do you see what I'm saying? You need to have the right bait, metaphorically speaking, the right compensation to capture the right candidate to work for you. That's absolutely critically important. So again, I just want to bring up the slide from what I just said, pay plans. I will give you a pro tip right here. And this, I believe, for VBC and for the dealership in general, at Dealer Synergy, we are very, very focused on a basic pay plan and a pro pay plan. Let me explain the psychology really quick. If we have a pay plan, whatever it is, base, commissions, etc., I think that's great. But what we want people to do, what are the behaviors we want people to do? Okay, we want them to memorize inbound, outbound process, qualifications, objections, rebuttals, why sell your vehicle to us? That's the equivalent of why buy from us. So there's certain things that we want them to do. And if you don't have a pro pay plan, I'm going to tell you right now, for me being in the industry for 22 years and owning Dealer Synergy for 17 years, the majority of people are not going to do all of the things that we want. However, magically, when we tie it to a pro pay plan, there is a massive spike. It's over 80% increase in actual utilization. Let me give you an example. If we say that your basic pay plan might be, for a VBC agent, let's just say $2,000 a month is your base salary, as a basic VBC agent, and your acquisition might be, let's just say, $75 or $100. That's your commissions for every car that you're responsible for acquisition. However, yes, there's a stair-step program that's bonuses, but that's regular. That's a basic pay plan. If we say something like this, if Danny's the VBC agent, Danny, here's the basic pay plan. If you do the basic things, you'll be compensated basic. However, if you do the following, if you go through Bradley On Demand and get certified for Vehicle Buying Center Specialist Level 1 and Level 2, if you've memorized your VBC outbound phone call process, if you've memorized your VBC inbound phone call process, if you memorize the top 7 expectations of a VBC prospect, if you've memorized at least 4 to 5 responses or rebuttals to those expectations or projections, if you've done those things, you will now qualify and have passed your Pro Pay Plan certification. What does that mean? You go from $2,000 a month maybe to $3,000 a month. You go maybe from the $100 in acquisition to $125 in acquisition or $150 in acquisition. Now, don't get caught up on the monetary number. This is just an example. I don't care if it's $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, $4,000. My point being is that in the basic pay plan, you start at X base compensation and X commissionable. However, once they do the most important things that we want them to do, then they're activated to the Pro Pay Plan. And here's what the next part of the Pro Pay Plan certification is. To maintain your Pro Pay Plan status and this accelerated compensation, you have to requalify every single month. Not by, and this is where it comes in, not by the knowledge skill path or that, but by the KPIs. You need to have a certain percentage of acquisitions, conversions, etc. And if you do that, I am telling you right now, folks, that is a pro tip, that this is how we get such high performance from our people, because we segregate them. And dealers that have Pro Pay Plans for showroom can understand the concept. If Pro Pay Plans work to recruit, 30, 40 car professionals, why wouldn't we institute a Pro Pay Plan strategy for a VBC agent? The answer is you should. Now, this I want to spend a couple minutes to really focus on. So listen, look up, pay attention. This is really important right here, okay? Don't check your emails during this part of the presentation, all right? This is single-handedly one of the most important things that I could share with you on an HR level, because let's just say that we've profiled the type of candidate that we want, psychologically speaking, skill set, speaking, experience, etc. Let's say we've got these job ads that we've created. We created the most incredible job ads, and we've got a ninja company, whether it's Dealer Synergy or another HR company that specializes in recruiting and staffing, right? And by the way, we've actually staffed over 37,000 automotive professionals all across the United States. So this is coming from our experience here, not just ideas. The problem is that most dealerships only use 1 or 2 metrics. They might use a service like these career sites right here, like Indeed or a ZipRecruiter, and they might or might not use Facebook Jobs. We use all of this, and this is our basic strategy, what you see on screen here. So let's start with social media. Social media is the #1 form of communication on planet Earth. So if it's the #1 form of communication on planet Earth, then why are we not using Facebook Jobs? Facebook Jobs is completely free and by far one of the most powerful HR resume generating opportunities. Next is Facebook for graphics and videos. What does this mean? So your dealership's Facebook page, you should have graphics that are saying we're hiring for vehicle acquisition or for vehicle buying center representatives. Or maybe there's some graphics that say, hey, you like cars? How would you like to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of cars? I mean, there's different things that you could do that are more corporate, more fun, to appeal to different types of people, but you're using graphics on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on other forms of social media. Twitter, you're using graphics and videos to recruit or to articulate that this position is available. And so this would be under the category of Facebook organic. But then there's Facebook boosting, which means that you could put graphics, you could put memes, you could put videos, or you could even put job links from Indeed, Glassdoor, or Facebook Jobs into your Facebook, and you could boost them. What does boosting mean? Boosting means that you could add $20, $40, $100, $200, $500, $1,000 budget to increase the visibility of these ads. Obviously, the more money that you put towards any type of ad, whether it's to sell new or used cars or service, or for recruiting, the more eyeballs, more views, which equals more conversions on there. I will also say there's another segment that I don't have on here because remember I said this is basic. Advanced would be targeting people. You could use Facebook and Instagram's ad management software to target people that work in collections or that are teachers or what have you. You could use retargeting. You could use all forms of ninja digital marketing strategies, social media strategies for recruiting. Most dealers don't use social media ads, YouTube pre-roll and retargeting for recruiting and staffing, which blows my mind because we have such a high attrition and a high need. We always need people, but yet we don't use one of the most profitable and powerful and highest ROI mechanisms, which is social media to recruit. Now, in addition to that, your website. We say that we need people. We want VBC agents. We need vehicle acquisition specialists, but most of you don't even have that on your own homepage of your website. There should be really clear on your homepage of your website, we're hiring. And when you click there should go into a landing page that actually speaks about, that particular job. It could be a video explaining that job, that career. And it could also be an employee testimonial of, I love being a vehicle acquisition representative. I love being a vehicle buying center specialist. Holy smokes, I just bought $300,000 in cars. I just bought a Bentley I just bought a Bentley Continental and my God, it's one of my favorite cars. It's so exciting. I can't believe that I just bought a $250,000 car. Again, this is exciting. Sales is transference of energy. We need to think about recruiting is sales. We're selling them on work. Think about the United States military. Holy crap, right? People, you know how much money the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force spends in selling people on recruiting? I just talked to a Navy SEAL. His name is Sean Matson from SEAL Team 4, SEAL Team 8. He's a lieutenant commander, and he was telling me that movie Act of Valor was designed as a recruiting tool. So the United States Army built a Hollywood blockbuster called Act of Valor for the sole purpose to get people to want to join the Navy and specifically join the SEAL teams. So think about that. Why? Because they know it's a sale. You got to sell somebody and wanting to join the military and put their lives on the risk. Why are we not trying to sell somebody on joining our team and what an amazing career it would be, et cetera, et cetera. So your website's important. Now, career sites, let's dive into this. Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder, Monster, and ZipRecruiter, these are all powerful websites that basically syndicate and broadcast your job offer to all these different services as well as all their subsidiaries. And that's what you want to do. So as you notice here on the screen, we've got social media, we've got websites, we've got career sites, and then we've got the boots on the ground. That's working with state and local unemployment offices. I mean, if you are not working with your town, your county, your state's unemployment office, you're missing the boat. If you're not working with local colleges and universities and even high schools at that matter, the job centers, right? Doing job fairs, doing intern programs, things like that, you're missing the boat. How about this military? Folks, do you realize that there are soldiers that have served our country honorably and they kill themselves because they can't find a job and they can't find a place in life? Hell, you know how much money the military spends on training soldiers? I think that military is one of the absolute best places to recruit from. So if you're not working with USAREC, which is the United States Armed Services Recruiting Command, right? If you're not working with them and other branches of the military to help, find high-level candidates for your dealership, you're missing the boat. Addition to this, there's other things you could do like email marketing and yada, yada, yada. But as you see here, man, I could do a whole session here at Digital Dealer just on recruiting, but it's important, especially because this VBC position is unique. So again, I know it's a little bit intense, but that's what I do, right? Now, some of you have never heard this acronym ATS. Okay, ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. The best way to explain an applicant tracking system, it's like a CRM as well as like maybe a data mining tool and like Hootsuite combined. Let me explain. So Hootsuite if you don't know, is a social media consolidation software. So instead of logging into your Facebook, logging into your Instagram, logging into your LinkedIn, logging into YouTube, logging into Twitter, logging into WhatsApp, logging into, Clubhouse, all these things, you could just log into one technology piece that connects all of them. So it basically consolidates this. Now, I highly, highly recommend, like, for example, at Dealer Synergy, we use our own ATS, but whether you use Dealer Synergy or not doesn't matter. Make sure that you have an applicant tracking system, because think about this. Do you want your HR person to have to log into Monster, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, Indeed, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these different places? The answer is no, because that wastes time. And then the data is in all these different places. You want to consolidate all that information to one centralized location, which is an ATS. And it helps you with actually posting jobs, syndicating jobs, tracking the progress of reaching out, connecting. If you interviewed, do you like them? Do you not like them? Did you schedule an interview? If they came in, how did they do? There's all this technology, and it is like extremely cheap. Whoever you use, this is not like thousands of dollars. It's like hundreds of dollars. That's it. And so I highly recommend whoever you use an ATS. Now, Danny, can you help me? Because I want to go live and show a couple examples of things real quick.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Hey, Tim Cox from CarNow, and we would love the privilege and honor to be able to partner with you, our dealer partner, and show you why we continue to be the most awarded communication and digital retailing platform in automotive. What's the buzz about? We'd love to show you why. Please click the link below and let's partner together.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. You having fun, Danny?
Yeah, this is really good information, but I also know the benefit of this, so I really hope people are taking notes.
Thank you, sir. So I want to show you, check this out. This is a video really quick, and it's not for VBC, just because for the presentation, I just wanted to show you a quick video that we use for recruiting, though. The concept is using video for recruiting. Watch. So right here, this ad you can use, but repurpose it for a vehicle buying center. You could create a video promoting the job, the career of a vehicle acquisition specialist or vehicle buying center representative, and you could use this on broadcast TV, on cable TV, on social media, in your email blast, etc. But the idea is utilize video. Look at how quickly you have sight, sound, motion, and emotion. This brings that ad to life visually. Okay. Another thing that I was mentioning is the website. This looks like it's a dealership website, but it's not. This is Pennsylvania Automotive Sales Careers. This website is solely dedicated to HR. So as you see here, this is a recruiting website. Patriot Auto Group is hiring. And then you have different job ads, showroom sales, e-commerce. You would have something that says vehicle buying center or vehicle acquisition specialist right here. Look in here about why join the Patriot Auto Group team, Patriot Auto Group benefits, Patriot Auto Group departments, supporting the community and charity. So this entire website is built solely for HR. This is an SEO, organic and paid, powerful HR mechanism. Again, programs, women in automotive, students. So now these are demographics. So on your career website, this is why women should work at the Patriot Automotive Group. And this is a message for women in automotive. Here's students. Here's a message on careers for students. And it's why join. And this is going to be everything from people that are in college or high school or for intern programs. Here's one for military personnel, as I was talking about before. Thank you for your service. For all active duty reserves and veterans, we would be honored to have you join our team. And then there's video of why, if you're in the military, you should join this team. So again, as you see here, this is kind of what I just talked about in the presentation, but I wanted to kind of just take you here for you to be able to see this. Now I want to show you one other thing, and then we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. Do you see this? This is Facebook Jobs. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go through let's just go through Country Hill Motors. Let me refresh, because this is live. So you see this is not a PowerPoint, people, right? So when I log in here, see Country Hill. So this is Danny's store. So we help Danny with his HR on here. So right now, if I go to Facebook Jobs, a lot of you have never even realized that you have the ability to be able to post jobs right through Facebook's Jobs here. It's as simple as auto body technicians. Again, I could have, it'll say right here, vehicle buying center rep or vehicle acquisition specialist right here. Now I'm going to click edit job. And so we could have like graphics that are customized for this particular position. It's got the full job description, job details, link to the URL. And look at this. Like you see how powerful this? You could either save this, you could share it, you could do whatever you want to do with this, folks. I'm going to go back over here. Another thing that you can do is this is in small part how do I say this? This is a ATS, but a very small one. Okay, so you see view as applicant. Look at all the things that you could do here. You could boost is unavailable because it's not live right now. You could renew job, edit job, share, view as applicant. There's so many different things that you could have here. You could even keep track right through Facebook on things like, did you offer them the position? Did you schedule the interview? Things like that. All right, Danny, can you pop back into the PowerPoint for me, sir?
Right.
All right, so now we're going to go, thank you, perfect. Now that we talked about the HR, which is extremely important, I want to now move into the process. Okay, so let's just talk about some of the things that we need to custom create and at least think about. What is the inbound, outbound phone process for a VBC agent? What is the inbound, outbound email process? What's the inbound, outbound chat process? What's the inbound, outbound text message process? What's the inbound, outbound social media DM process? What's the outbound video conferencing process? What is the CRM process? What's the dead lead process? What's the video email, video text messaging process? What's the prospect engagement process? What is the sold client process where we bought their vehicle? I would say the buying client process, if you will. What is the lead follow-up process? What's the referral generation process? What's the qualification, identifying expectation, utilizing objection and rebuttal process? So everything you see here, if you think about it, it's similar to for a sales rep or a BDC rep, but the content is different. So a sales rep or BDC rep's got to know all this stuff, but when you're selling a car, the verbiage, the psychology, the cadence, the frequency, the details are completely different. So yes, the outline and the overview is similar, but all this content needs to be repurposed for buying cars from the public instead of trying to sell cars. I'm going to repeat that. This is literally almost everything that you need. We weren't able to put every detail on a slide, but this is a lot of what you need. And think about this. If you're not overwhelmed, you're lying to yourself. You need to make sure that you're thinking about this. And if you are not an expert of custom creating a vehicle acquisition process for all of these things, you need to find a coach or a trainer or a person that's got experience to help you custom create this. What you don't want to do is invest all this time and energy in creating a VBC. You don't want to spend all this time and energy in recruiting the right person, but not think about all these details and try to let them fumble or figure the fudge out, after the fact. That's not a good strategy. So how do you train your people? Danny, help me. It's not letting me change the slide. So that brings me into the CRM process. Now, I want to give a disclaimer real quick before I jump into Vin to go live, is this. There's certain technology that I recommend as a consultant and training that you have. Okay, so to give you an analogy, you can do data mining, equity mining within your CRM tool, but then why do we have tools that are data mining, equity mining tools like Revenue Radar and Automotive Mastermind and Auto Loop and Auto Alert and all those other alert tools that are there, because those data mining, equity mining tools are custom created to maximize data mining, equity mining, lease retention, things like that. So, but you still need the CRM. It's the same thing here. Vehicle acquisition strategy, vehicle acquisition processes. This is very, very new. This is bleeding edge technology right now. This is bleeding edge, concepts. And so this is the reason why I'm super excited to be working with Danny, not only because he's the dealer principal of a very powerful, successful dealer group, but he's also, immersed with VinCue. Because this technology didn't exist anywhere else, Danny created it for his dealerships. And so, again, VinCue I would highly recommend because it is the only vehicle acquisition software in the world that does this stuff. So they're first to market. And that's because he's a dealer and it didn't exist. So he just built it himself. And now he gets to share it with everybody else. So this is not a pitch. This is just reality. If we were talking about social media, I would say Hootsuite. Okay. But we're talking about vehicle acquisition. So what's synonymous to Hootsuite for social media is VinCue to vehicle acquisition. And so, but regardless, you're going to need to have somebody set up the technology. You're going to need to have someone set up your VinCue, if you have VinCue, vehicle acquisition technology, but you're also going to need somebody to set up the VinSolutions tool. So Danny, can you stop the screen so I can share? And I'm going to go into VinCue Live. I'm going to go to VinSolutions Live. So now Danny uses VinSolutions. VinSolutions doesn't pay me $1 ever, okay, in any way, shape, or form. So Danny, do I have permission to go into your CRM? So that's why I'm using this. Disclaimer, we work with 17 different CRMs, okay? And as you could see here, I got to log back in. So we work with 17 different CRMs, and Danny just happens to use VinSolutions, and we have I think 400 active VinSolutions clients right now, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to log into VinSolutions. This is preloaded, but it reset, Danny. Sorry, guys. All right, so now, as you see here, these are just some of my clients. All right, so we're going to go to Country Hill Motors. So first of all, 90% of dealership CRMs are broken and not set up correctly. Folks, I work with multi-billion-dollar dealer groups, $70-million dealer groups, publicly traded dealer groups, and all the way down the line to single-point independent dealerships, mom-and-pop stores. So that's not an inaccurate statement. That's an accurate statement. Our estimation is not only are 90% of CRMs broken, not set up correctly, let's be specific. So I'm going to log into the CRM here. So this is the back end. Okay, and we do this for all CRMs, Dealer Socket, VinSolutions, eLeads, DriveCentric, Reynolds and Reynolds Contact Management, all of them, right? So if you look at this, this is the back end of the CRM. If you take a look, most dealers don't have any of this stuff set up the right way, or if they have it set up, it's antiquated, the templates are old, and they're not utilized correctly. So, but we're not here to talk about fully CRM, but just a piece of CRM, vehicle acquisition. So as you see here, we have Vehicle Buying Center. So do you see this? This is the Vehicle Buying Center process that's mapped out. And this is just the beginning, right? So what we had to map out in here is exactly what the experience is going to be in the CRM. So that means if a VBC agent gets a lead, a prospect that wants to sell their vehicle, we have to map out those activities. Now, this is just the beginning. Watch this. It's now going to go into the custom. Anybody that has VIN, look at all this customization that's in here. There's a lot of content that's here, right? So we are going to go right into this Vehicle Buying Center. So watch how detailed it goes in here. So our process is going to roll. Let me just get down to the bottom. This goes all the way for 30 straight days, because we believe that if somebody wants to sell you their car, It's a little bit different than if somebody wants to buy a car. The difference is probably if it's a used car, special finance, 60 days. If it's a franchised vehicle, it's 90 days. But it's different for a vehicle acquisition. The gestation period is about 30 days. So you want to have a methodical process that's mapped out in your CRM, but watch, it's going to have custom content. In the custom content, it's going to have a whole library of templates. So when you look at the templates that are in here, you see this? Look at the massive library of templates that are in here. There's like hundreds and hundreds of templates, but watch. So you've got, this is the outline. So tier 1 is you need to have an outline that's going to be methodical for 30 straight days. In addition, for 30 straight days, this is call, voicemail, text message, social media, DM. Okay, don't forget to send a social media DM and text. So this is also really important. Not only are we telling people to email, phone call, text message, video email, video text message, we're also teaching people to utilize social media DMs. We're also teaching people how to use tier 2 forms of communication, like utilizing Apple FaceTimes, Skypes, custom videos, custom, like e-cards, animated GIFs. So again, the reason being is that most people that are just trying to sell cars are only using antiquated ways. Email, phone call, text message. Man, whether we're trying to sell a car or buy a car, we're using email, phone call, text message, video email, video text message, social media DMs on LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat. We're also using e-cards in a very diversified way. And so we also have schedules on when we're following up. We know that prime time to connect on the phone is between 6 and 8 p.m. Folks, I could spend another full day just going through this. And as you see here, these are not BS like little lines. Look at how in-depth that we are going with details, with coaching, with HTML graphics, because when these trigger on somebody's task, it's not just call prospect, we're giving substance. Danny, let's now transition back to the PowerPoint real quick, please. So I hope you guys are getting value. Danny, do you agree this is what we did for you at Country Hill and why you guys are crushing it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's also how our team scales. I mean, that's one of the.
I need to be able to control the PowerPoint. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now this is going to go into the training, folks, and this is the last piece that I want to talk about for the last couple minutes. Is that all this sounds good, right? But training is one of the most important things that you could do. Think of the Navy SEALs. Think of like Olympic athletes. Do you think they just wing it? Do you think they just practice in real combat, or they practice at the Olympic event? No, they dedicate themselves to practice, drilling, rehearsing. And so we at Dealer Synergy, we provide a myriad of training to Country Hill Motors, everything from live on-site training. But in addition to that, one of the most powerful things is virtual training. Having a 24/7 video on demand training, tracking, testing, and certification that's going to go through this, everything from onboarding. And so Danny, I'm going to rock out real quick here. If you can allow me one more time to just go live.
Yes, absolutely.
You're still sharing your screen, buddy.
Yep. I'm going to get to the stop share button. There you go.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to share my screen for the final time, and we're going to go to Bradley On Demand really quick. So now once we log into Bradley On Demand, right? So we're in Bradley On Demand right here. There's a training center. Now, whether you're using Bradley On Demand or you're using any other training center, it doesn't really matter for this conversation, but I encourage you to just make sure that you're not just using old school video training from like the 80s or 90s, or you're using, YouTube random videos. There's a difference of watching YouTube videos versus having an interactive training, tracking, testing certification. So for example, with Country Hill Motors, when they have their people coming in, right, they have new hire training. Well, there's an onboard training for the first 15 days, right? So there's an onboarding training. There is training for like rules to live by. Welcome to the automotive industry. Welcome to the dealership. Now, this is interesting right here, CRM training. Okay, what you might not realize is that no CRM company specializes in any type of training other than buttonology. I'm going to repeat that. CRM companies do not train. They only give you buttonology information, how to use the buttons. They don't train you on CRM psychology, strategy, operations, how to sell appointments, how to get appointments to show up, how to sell cars, how to buy cars. They don't do any of that stuff. But what we've created for Danny, and make sure whoever you use has a strong CRM training curriculum, not just agnostic for any CRM, as you saw Danny's in VinSolutions. So his people, when they log in, there's full-blown VinSolutions video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification, or whatever CRM, Dealer Socket, Reynolds, eLeads, etc. So this is really important, is the CRM training for the VBC rep, right? Well, what other important training should a VBC rep have besides onboarding and welcome to the automotive industry that I just showed you here, new hire training? They need CRM training, but then they're going to need phone sales training. So there's outbound phone call training, inbound phone call training, objections and rebuttal training, value package proposition training, specific phone call training, voicemail strategy training, how to secure appointments training, and it's all specific to different types of curriculum, whether it's new cars, used cars, or it's for vehicle acquisitions. Then there's internet sales BDC. And look, under there you see, under internet sales BDC, there's a whole section right here for vehicle buying center. So everything from introduction, process, and strategy. So the way that Danny has his people going through this is through 100% a video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification. And the reason why this is important, it's not just here. Every time his people watch a video module, they can get, they take a test. And if they pass all the tests in that series, they could actually get certified as a vehicle acquisition specialist level 1, a vehicle acquisition specialist level 2. And as you see here, here are the reports. There's watchdog reports that allows the manager to be able to be notified on a daily, weekly, or monthly level through email or text message, the progress reports. Who's using this? Who's logging in? Okay, user report, sorry. Who's using it? Who's logging in? Who's passing? Who's failing? Things like that. So Danny, can you put the PowerPoint on for the last couple of things for the recap?
Yeah.
Perfect, my friend. And then just give me access. So let me pull it together because I know this is sensory overload, folks. You just went through 100 minutes or almost 100 minutes. We got about 5 minutes left, but you went through 95 minutes so far, right? A full hour and a half. And we talked about a couple things. I'm going to reverse engineer this. What I really focused a lot about was the individual person, or individual people for your team. Who are you looking for? What goes into that? Everything from the compensation, the pay plan, all of those details need to be thought about. And then the job description and the ads. And once you've got that profile, then where are you going to syndicate that job ad all over the place between all those areas that I went over? And then from there, okay, once you hire that person, okay, what does that person need to do? What are their standard operating procedures? So I went through all of these different SOPs, all of these standard operating procedures, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why to do it. And then I specifically called focus into the CRM because not only do you need to know about these processes and details conceptually or mentally, right? But you also have to have these SOPs written out. They need to be in physical format. And most importantly, whatever you expect needs to be coded into your CRM. It needs to be methodically put into there for that VBC agent to make sure that they reconcile through the CRM all the activities you expect them to do. The other advice that I told you is, in addition to setting up your CRM, you're really going to need to make sure that you have a tool like a VinCue that's going to be able to leverage all of the technology you need to run the VBC in unison with the CRM. And then the last piece that I focus on is the training. If you think about all the stuff that Danny talked about, all the stuff that I just talked about, if you really think for a second you could FITFO this, which means figure it the fudge out, or just wing this, you're gravely mistaken. You need to have a training partner. That's live training, that's reinforcement training, that's virtual training, and especially the virtual training, you need to have this tool there that's on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you're reinforcing. Because remember, just having somebody talk to your people is not enough. That's just exposing you to information. Remember this, folks, and I want to kick this to Danny, get your opinion on a couple things, Danny. Real training happens two ways. One, with time and experience. The more time, the more experience that an agent has doing a particular skill or job, that's part of training, on-the-job training, experience training, right? But then repetition. And you got to remember something. If you have people that are going to try to watch something and they're distracted, or they don't have headphones, or we're not paying attention to, like, can you imagine if you have a training video that you have them watch on YouTube or whatever it is? How do we know they actually pay attention? Where is the qualitative measures of it and the quantitative measures of it? Is there a test? Is there certification? If the answer is no, you're not training anybody. All you're doing is exposing them. So Danny, if you can, before you recap your part, because we still have a couple minutes, can you just give your opinion on my three sections on as the dealer principal? What is your thoughts on what I've said on the HR level, on the CRM level, and on the virtual training level?
Yeah, so I like to, my quote is follow the money, right? And so prior to working with you, Sean, making those mistakes isn't just learning from my mistakes, but it's costing a lot of money. I mean, hiring the wrong people and training them the wrong way, and losing what you said earlier about did you hire them dead on arrival, or did you kill them in the process, is a hard pill to swallow. And so having a partner that can help you with the right key performance indicators when you're talking about even doing interviews, and when you're doing the correct pay plans. So when the candidate comes in, and then supporting them, right? Because we in the car business are so used to having a salesperson start and then having them fill a couple forms, and then a few days later, the managers are looking at each other going, I bet he won't make it, or I bet she won't make it. Well, who's at fault there, right? It's the managers. It's not the person that they just hired. So I wanted to turn that on its head, because I'm not interested in having a culture like that. I truly believe culture eats profits for breakfast. So you have to have good training. You have to be involved in these pay plans. You have to have a partner in order to continue to take people, as you say, from basic to a pro.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on the CRM and that aspect of it, customizing the CRM and that aspect?
Yeah. So the CRM is incredibly important, specifically on the acquisition side, because those opportunities are not opportunities that you've had if you've never done vehicle acquisition. So getting them into the CRM is incredibly important. Working those opportunities, because the road to the acquisition is different than the road to the sale. So there are different triggers. VBC agents can work almost twice as many VBC opportunities than they can BDC opportunities. BDC opportunities, 80 to 120. VBC opportunities, nearly 250 up to 300, because they close faster and there's less involvement. But having those tasks and having it all spelled out, and then it opens the opportunity for service, for additional sales, for additional trades, and additional clients for your business in the future. So I'm super grateful to you for opening our eyes on that.
And what do you think about the Bradley On Demand or any virtual training platform for your team, specifically having technology, not just training, but having that video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification resource? How important is that for you as a dealer?
So let me tell you, look, I don't want to hire somebody and just put them in front of a screen and just have them say, here's the training videos and watch. And that's one of the reasons I like working with Bradley On Demand, because it is both. I get to work with my team and I get to supplement that, right? They get to hear the message from somebody else that is an industry legend that can tell them how to train on appointments. And then I can back that up with data and show them in real life, like how that works. And then when it's backed up with the pay plan, to show that, hey, you're rewarded when you do the right thing and you can grow. And then you zoom out from that and see the whole dealership winning because of their efforts. And it all boils down to that training, tracking, and certification, that's what I call a win.
Well, listen, it's been an honor to be able to present to you all here, and I know this is virtual, so make sure that you reach out to Danny at VinCue, and the contact information is right here. Follow Danny, on social media, follow VinCue on social media, and then also, again, follow us both, me and Danny, in the Millionaire Car Salesman. We have a Facebook group that's got 20,000 plus automotive professionals, managers, and owners. We have the Millionaire Car Salesman Club on Clubhouse, and we have the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. And Danny's been a huge live streamer in the group. He's been hosting rooms on Clubhouse, and he has some amazing podcasts that are there. So again, thank you so much. And Danny, do you have anything that you'd like to end with the group?
I will tell you this: it is worth it. In order to win at this, the evolution of the car dealer, you want to take private party acquisition seriously. So get partners that will help you win, because it will be make a huge difference for your organization. So I'm grateful for your time and for you to be curious about how you grow your business.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is sponsored in part by Dealer E-Process, VinCue, and Autoweb, and Car Now. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.